Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I just want to talk about, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of say my goodbyes, because if you're unaware, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in its final season, and it's actually coming to an end this Wednesday. But, before I even get into all that, if you are unaware, what Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, it follows, the spy type of group known as S.H.I.E.L.D. that exists in the Marvel Universe. Obviously, the show picks up after the events of Avengers. Spoilers, Coulson was killed by Loki, but then it's oh, Coulson's back. Won't really get into that because that's a whole thing. If you've never seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I mean, in general, I highly recommend you check out the show because it's a really great show, and I think it's a show that, despite probably a lot of people kind of sleeping on it, it has always been a show that to me has always been great, but it's gotten better and better with every season. Because what I think is, going back to it, I do apologize, I'm a little all over the place. Basically Coulson leads a team of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. I don't know if a lot of them are people that are from the comic books. Obviously, people who are more well versed in the comic books will know. I think the one I know for sure that's definitely in the comic books is May. Obviously Daisy, because Daisy is definitely from the comic books, but I'm not sure about Fitz or Simmons or Mac. I just assume Yo-Yo is, but I mean, you never know. But regardless, the fact of the matter is, it's this team, basically, because I think it's so interesting because the show starts off very much like a, kind of a bit of a spy show with a nice science fictional angle to it. And I think as the show's progressed, they've kept that spy thriller element to it, that espionage element, but it's become a little less because as the show's progressed, they've heavily leaned into the more science fictional angle. If you're caught up with the show, you know what I'm talking about. It's just gotten more and more science fiction as the show is going on, which in no shape or form is meant to be a jab at the show in any shape or form. It's just kind of an interesting element but even then, like I said, you do see the espionage elements a little bit because I mean it still plays a role even in this even in this current and final season. But it's just a really good show that does a good job of this team that's come together and telling this really interesting story with some nice twists and unexpected turns and developments with certain characters. I would have never known Daisy's story was going to be what it ended up being. Obviously, I've heard stuff that a lot of people didn't know Skye was going to turn into Daisy. They didn't know that the whole situation was going to happen, so they weren't. That's what I heard years ago. Regardless of all of that. What Coulson's stories become, what May's stories become, Fitz and Simmons and Mac and Yo-Yo. The team is stayed pretty much the same for a majority of the part. Obviously, like I said, there's been some major changes over the course of this season, but obviously this core cast has pretty much been the same for a while now. And so just in general, it feels wild to be saying goodbye to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in many different regards because for one, it's yes, I already went into this knowing this would be the final season. I knew at the end of season 6 that this next season was going to be the final season. But it's just that thing of even now when I was watching the season, episode by episode, it got closer and closer to the end. It still wasn't sinking in until now. It's literally the last 2 episodes air this Wednesday. So that's a couple days away, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be over, and it's crazy because this, to me, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. holds such a monumentous part in all of this. Regardless how you feel about a lot of the Marvel stuff, how you feel about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in general, the fact of the matter is this show started it all. This was the first of the MCU TV shows. Granted, yes, there's the whole thing about what Marvel TV is leaving behind and what it'll eventually become with the Disney Plus stuff, but you gotta pay tribute to the fact is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started this, because it was the first show that took place in the MCU. Yes, they weren't able to be recognized within the movies, which has always been an issue. But the fact of the matter, because the only character that ties in directly, there are some characters that pop up from the movies that were in the show, but also the main through line has always been Coulson. Sadly, that's always. But the TV show, and I've talked about this, has always referenced the movies. Obviously, last season they kind of departed from the MCU storyline because they kind of had to do their own thing. I guess especially where the MCU was at the time, because if you're curious, that was during season 6 came out during the events of Endgame, and Endgame, so they kind of had to do their own thing. But regardless, this show kind of paved the way for so much, whether it be Runaways, whether it be everything on the Netflix shows, even the short-lived Agent Carter, because I mean, I know at one point in time they wanted to do a spin-off with Bobby and Hunter, but called, like, I think it was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Most Wanted, I think it was what it was going to be called, but sadly that never became a thing. Cloak and Dagger, just like this show was kind of the foundation, and so it being the first show and the last show, because as you know, every other show I've mentioned is no longer, you know, because obviously because of the new wave of like what's going to Marvel TV is going to becoming, like, this is an end of an era in so many regards. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ending isn't just about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's about everything that came out circling around it and just part of this MCU situation, the TV show wise. It's just, that's why, like, it's so heavy it ending, because it's not just this show, it's just like it's the end of this era of Marvel TV, you know. So but it is a thing that, regardless of everything, I think it is a thing. I mean, I happily look back on fondly. I know every MCU show connected to all this, whether it be the Netflix stuff, Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, so on and so forth. I know it might not have always been everyone's thing, but I've really enjoyed every bit of it, and it's wild to see all of this, but in particular Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. itself come to an end. Like I said, it's always been there, but it's sinking in more. Like, yeah, the final episodes are, you know, in a couple of days, and I always feel that sadness when things are coming to an end, but at the same time, I'm so excited to see how they end up wrapping up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know? So I highly recommend, if you've never checked out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or maybe you started at one point in time and stopped, because I know there's a few people who've done that. They've seen maybe like the first 2 seasons and they just fell off the show. I highly recommend you get back into the show. Like I said, the show to me has always been great, but it just gets better and better with every season, in my opinion. To my recollection, I could be mistaken, I think I've seen it fairly recently. It definitely, to my knowledge, it's still on Netflix. You can get seasons 1 through 6. Obviously, on Hulu, you can get the most recent season, because they, you know, do episodical. They're doing it episode by episode, so you can get the first 6 seasons, I believe, and obviously the episodes from the most from this current 7th and final season. I don't know. It just, especially stuff in the final season has got me getting all nostalgic too, because they, like, you know, it's like they bring up story points. You're like, oh, I remember that. Especially like Daisy's kind of having to confront like some family stuff this season, especially like the Fitz and Simmons situation, especially because you know what their storyline has been, like them being like the Romeo and Juliet essentially of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like where their story is and see where it is, you know. Just there's so much. Like I brought up earlier, May, like who she is right now, where she is so almost borderline ironic compared to who her character's always been majority over the course of the show. It's just kind of like she's almost a polar opposite of who she's kind of been, you know, when it comes to emotions and stuff like that. May's kind of, you know, got her own deal going. Regardless, it's just, I don't know, it just, I'm getting like this already. I'm not even talking. I'm sure I'm going to get even more like this when it comes time to talk about the actual series finale. But still, it's just, you know, I just wanted to kind of just, you know, take this video to kind of say my goodbyes before I say my goodbyes again during the series finale. So honestly, I'd love to get to know your thoughts in the comments down below. What are some of your favorite aspects? If you've seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what are some of your favorite aspects? What's some of your favorite seasons? I think season 4 might currently still be my favorite, just because I love the whole Ghost Rider angle now that was integrated into the story. Plus the whole framework thing, I really enjoyed the hell out of that storyline as well. Everything with like Ada and everything. So like I said, just let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good